All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Grind. I'm here with Dalton Rosta, who's just come off a very, very impressive win at Bellator 250. Was it 256? Right?
Yes, sir.
256, yeah.
Yes.
So Dalton, I first want to ask. Well, I first want to say congratulations. It was super impressive. How do you feel after getting such a great win like that?
I mean, I feel good. There's some mistakes and stuff I made that I got to clean up. I went back, watched the fight, critiqued myself. But I enjoyed the win for a little bit. I got a win against a very tough, high-level fighter. 10-1 as a professional boxer, 9-2 professional MMA, 22 professional fights against my four. Had some very good knockouts and very notable wins. And he trains at a very good gym. And rumor has it, even like Daniel Cormier struggles very much to take him down. I took him down 4 times. I outboxed him, when he's supposed to be the one with the boxing pedigree. But as I told reporters before, journalists before, I didn't need to wrestle in that fight, and I could outbox him. And I showed that, outboxed him, outkicked him, out wrestled him, and in the clinch against the cage, won there too, I was better than him all around.
Yeah, that's gotta be a huge confidence booster, man. If DC, a guy who's obviously much heavier than you and the wrestling pedigree of like no one else on the planet, you're able to get a guy down there. If he struggles to get down, I mean, that's gotta feel good, right?
Yeah, and I mean, part of it plays with the fact that like he knows his style and stuff now. He
Right.
knows his tendencies, so it's harder to take somebody down when you spar with him so often, you train with
Yeah.
him so often. But still, with somebody with that pedigree of wrestling, just the accomplishments he's had, it speaks volumes to my wrestling. Although, despite how my college career ended with injuries and everything else, I put my wrestling pedigree up there with that as well. But I just don't have the accomplishments, obviously, that he and some other people in the sport have. But on top of that, my wrestling's a little bit more dangerous because you don't know when I'm going to wrestle you. I can actually strike. I can box. I have knockout power. There's a lot of things that you have to respect. And I mean, I guess you've seen Tony giving that respect in the fight. He was hesitant to throw. I was throwing kicks. Mixing things up, and I wrestled with him a little bit too. But he didn't know what to do. And in previous fights I watched, he was very aggressive. So that's why I predicted a first round knockout because I was expecting him to come out aggressive like that. I was looking at his Instagram, social media. He was saying he was going to come out hot. He was going to be fireworks. So I was expecting him to come out like that, especially with it being later in his career. And me being able to counter him whenever he's coming out super aggressive would lead to a first round knockout. But his hesitation and his inability to pull the trigger and like just me walking him down and, him kind of just like staying back, it didn't lead to many opportunities to knock him out. And I didn't want to obviously put myself in a bad position trying to chase the knockout. So that's why the fight ended up the way it did. But I still think I put on a beautiful performance.
Of course, of course. Is it any in the first, honestly, throughout the whole fight, you were landing some big heavy shots. Is it discouraging at all when you land a clean shot and the guy doesn't go down?
They weren't that clean. A lot of them were grazing. I noticed the speed advantage that I had on him early. I noticed it watching film, but it was even more clear when I was in the cage with him. A lot of fans could see it, but it's more than just seeing it; it's feeling it. And I felt the speed difference. So that's why I was sometimes, even though I was walking him down, I was letting him throw like a 1-2, and I was throwing, I was taking my head off the center line to the right, throwing a hook at the same time. When I could have taken my head off to the left side, throw an overhand right. The speed advantage was so much for me that I chose to do the opposite and throw the hook, and I was glancing them with that hook, grazing them. They weren't the cleanest shots, but he wasn't landing his shots. Sometimes he got through a little bit, but he wasn't landing his shots, and I was still landing mine. So it leads to frustration on his end, and it opens up more things for me, which I believe he would have started coming forward and being more aggressive, especially being down 2 rounds. But still, he had the inability to pull the trigger, and yeah, but as for those big shots, like you said, I only landed I landed a few clean shots, but a lot of them I was just trying to touch them. I wasn't really putting much power behind them. It might have looked like, just because of my frame, the way I strike. I'm explosive. It might have been looking like I was throwing bombs, but that's just the way I strike. I wasn't really putting much power behind everything. And had I caught him with a couple clean shots, especially in a row, I would have put him out. But they weren't as clean as you may think they were.
Okay. You've said on social media too that before the fight there was some people that were saying, this guy's got a boxing background, his striking is very good, and we haven't really seen all that much from Dalton. Like if he chooses to stand and bang, like he's gonna have a lot of trouble. Then you went in there and completely flipped the script on that entire narrative. How does that feel to silence all that?
I'm not here to silence the haters. At the end of the day, no matter what you do, you're not gonna please everybody. You're not gonna, silence all the critics. There's always gonna be those haters. And Josh Thompson's a huge hater, dude. Every single fight had something bad to say about me. And this fight he might have been a little bit biased or a little bit partial towards Tony Johnson because he trains at him. He's out of the same gym, and not to knock him, Tony Johnson is a good boxer, so it's only right for him to have confidence in him, especially with him being from the same gym. But like Josh Thompson always has something to say. According to him, I didn't have a gas tank, And then when they're talking about the fight, I won't stand with Tony. I'll get knocked out. Look what happened. I stood with him. I outboxed him. I outkicked him. Everything. He couldn't beat me anywhere. I outboxed and outstruck Ty Gorder, who was supposed to be a better kickboxer than me. I was supposed to be labeled just as wrestler. I wrestled a lot in that fight too, but it's with me switching it up. I'm gonna fight differently every fight, And on top of that, when Big John was like, "Yeah, well, he proved he had a gas tank," then Josh Thompson's like, "Well, it wasn't that fast pace of a fight." Well, not every fight is gonna be like 135 pounders. We're 185 pounders. We're bigger guys, and we both have knockout power. So you watch heavyweights fight. They have the slowest pace fights, but as soon as they get the knockout, everybody talks about how good of a fight it was, But before that, it wasn't that good of a fight, When you look at my past two fights, when you're fighting somebody that's a high level, two guys that both have knockout power, there's going to be a lot of respect there. There's going to be a lot of setting up your shots. There's going to be a lot of feints. There's going to be a lot of jabs. There's going to be a lot of like setting up your third, fourth punch with your first and second. You're going to be setting it up over the entire fight before you actually throw that third and fourth punch, that third or fourth strike, And these guys like Josh Thompson and Big John know that. And Big John gives the respect, whenever it's due. Josh Thompson still knows this, but he still has something bad to say about everybody. So at the end of the day, I don't care about proving those guys wrong because they have a negative outlook on things and they're always going to hate and they're always going to pick something apart. At the end of the day, I'm just worried about winning. I'm worried about getting paid, and I am worried about pleasing the fans, But you're going to please most of the fans, but you got to silence out the critics because those are the minority, And everybody's always going to have something to say. So I'm not looking to prove those guys wrong. I'm looking to prove my supporters and my fans right.
That's awesome. So you're still at the Mat Factory, correct?
No, I'm at American Top Team. On Tapology, it says I'm at Mat Factory, but I'm not anymore. I haven't been there since the Mark Gardner fight. But gotcha. Isaac Grilly's still in my corner from the Mat Factory.
Right. So how does it feel? What would you say is the differences? Maybe not like any benefits or downsides, but what would you say is the differences from training at a smaller gym like Mat Factory and going to a bigger gym like Top Team?
Obviously the size of the facility, more opportunities to train and do different things all in one gym rather than travel from place to place. Obviously the training partners and the best fighters in the world all flock there because you have so many good fighters there already. You have all the other high level fighters looking to get better partners. They all come. So it just creates a funnel, for good fighters. Then you have top level coaches. You have people that invest into their coaches like Dan Lambert. He invests in the coaching staff. He invests into the gym. And all these coaches, they really want the best for you. They invest into the fighters. And if the fighter really wants to be the best and puts in the time himself, the coaches are going to put it into him as well. So it's just, it's big recipe for success down there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things coming out of Top Team. I mean, obviously they have such a big roster of superstars. I mean, all the way to the top, going down to even the guys that are just up and coming. But moving over to kind of your career at Bellator, is Bellator a place? You've had all of your professional fights at Bellator. Is that a place where you want to stay at? We've heard fighters say that Bellator is excellent at taking care of you. Is that something that you feel the same way about?
Taking care of me, how? How so?
I'm not sure. This is just what other fighters have said. Taking care of fighters is the common thing. Like maybe in regards to pay or in regards to paying certain bills, or I'm not sure, but that's just what certain fighters have said.
I mean, I've never been in the UFC, so I wouldn't know the difference. I mean, Bellator is the only high level promotion I've been in, but recently, I've had a better relationship with the promotion, the people in the promotion, uh, since this last fight. But before that, I feel like there was a lot of disrespect. There was a lot of we really weren't on the same page, and I wasn't getting the respect I felt I deserved, and they weren't fighting me as often as I wanted to. But this new contract's an opportunity to change that, an opportunity going forward to see what new things we can do. And so far, it's been great. The obviously I got a new contract that pays more, but that's not what's important to me right now. What's important to me is getting the fights, fighting as often as possible, and getting quick turnarounds, and just building my own career. Um, you know, if you do something good, you get a good knockout, you have a good fight, and you get the fans talking about you. You have to turn around fairly quickly within 3 months to keep the people talking about you. If they put you on the shelf for 6 months, after that 2-3 months, people are going to forget about you. You know, so I need to continue to fight to you know eventually become a household name, build my career, build my name. Because that's what I'm out here to do. I want to have a lot of fans. I want to be one of the biggest stars in the sport, and I have a long way to go before that happens. But it all starts here. So I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking in the future. I'm not looking at the present. So, and that all starts with how they treat me and how things or how things are going to go going forward. And as I said, everything's been good. Have Me and Rich are on the same page. Our conversations have been great. They treated me well the last time I was at Bellator. I feel like I'm getting a little bit more respect. I was the prelim main event this past time, the last fight on the prelims, and even though I was on the prelims, it was a stacked card. So to be the last fight on the prelims with some of the other fighters that were on the prelims and the names that were on the main card, meaning I was just there, had one of those names not been there, you know, gives me I have to show a lot of appreciation for that, especially how things went before. I was on the main card my last fight, but it was because of the misfortunate events of other people testing positive for COVID, So it was kind of a good luck thing for me, bad luck for them. And hopefully going forward, I have a main card spot. And if Romero Cotton accepts his fight, with him being ranked, unfortunately, I don't know how the hell this happened, but I'm not ranked. But if he accepts the fight going forward, he's ranked 5-0 versus 5-0. We should definitely be on the main card. And I know I promised a first round knockout this time, but that was me banking on how the other fighter was going to fight. This fight, regardless of how Romero Cotton fights, I will knock him out. It's not going to be dependent or on how he fights. Regardless of what route he takes, I'm knocking him out. So we'll see if he takes the fight. I don't think he's going to. But if he does, you'll really see me. You'll see my popularity skyrocket.
Right. It was interesting to hear and to see, that he was ranked, and there was some stuff that you said after the post fight press conferences. That's a fight that you're really gunning for, right? You want that fight.
Uh-huh.
That's good. So at 185, is the cut hard at all for you, or is 185 a place where you're really comfortable?
It looks hard, huh?
I'm just asking you. You're a huge guy, man. I gotta wonder if that cut is easy, or I mean, some people obviously cut easier than others, but I'm just curious, man. You're the Hercules, so just curious.
Yes. So my first fight at 185, I got the fight on 2 weeks notice, actually a little bit less, 13 days, 12 days. And I was 215 when I got the call. So that one sucked. But I died it down to about like 202, and then I cut water. The next fight, a little bit better, was eating clean the whole entire time, had a better weight management. And whenever I got the call about like 6 weeks out, I was already with under 210, so I started dieting, got down to about 198 before I cut water. This past time, I didn't want to suffer because the night before weigh-ins, if you cut it the night before, which is what I like doing, if you as soon as you go to sleep, if you cut too much water, your mouth's dry, you can't sleep. It's hard to sleep. You toss and turn all night. But this time I didn't want to suffer, so I got down to the lowest I got was 193, but I was fluctuating between 193 and 194. And as the week went on, I got a little bit lighter, cut from 193 the night before, started at 193, cut 7 pounds. I actually got a little bit under, drank a couple bottles of water before bed, and took some melatonin, took some CBD, and slept pretty much throughout the whole entire night. Went to sleep at 11, set my alarm for 7. I woke up at 2 for about like 30 minutes to an hour, somewhere in there. That's the only time I woke up throughout the entire night. It was hard to get back to sleep, but as soon as I did, slept through the entire night and woke up on weight. So this last time it was a lot easier. I felt a lot better, but my weight didn't go up as high the next day because I dieted down lower. My previous fights against Ty Gorder, I was like 207 come fight time. And against Mark Gardner, I was like 211 come fight time. This time I was only 202. So, which I wasn't mad about, I felt great.
So was there any doubt after the fight? I'm sorry, before the judges had read the scorecards. Was there any doubt in your mind? I mean, obviously, when you leave it to the judges, it's you never know these days.
Yeah, you never know, but I'm pretty sure you could tell by the way I was dancing and I was pointing at the camera and winking at the other camera and pointing at Lucas. I'm pretty sure you could tell by my body language I knew I won. There was no doubt I lost a round.
Yeah.
First round I was out striking him. I kicked his leg a lot. He was real hesitant to throw things. It might have looked like he landed some things, but if you go back, you slide it across frame by frame. They were skimming by. There was one shot in the first round where I threw that counter left hook and he grazed me with the right hand at the same time that I was hitting him with the left hook. Besides that first shot, he didn't hit me once the entire first round. Second round started mixing it up more. I was cutting him with that front leg kick, started throwing the spinning push kicks, started opening up a little bit more of my boxing, got a takedown, in that round, second half of the round, third round, if you go back and look, I didn't throw one leg kick for the rest of it on the outside leg kick. I threw the inside leg kick with my left leg from that point forward because I messed up my shin and my ankle. I kicked his kneecap on the very last leg kick I threw, and it affected my movement a little bit. I wasn't trying to show it, but it definitely affected my movement a little bit, and I definitely couldn't throw a kick. In between rounds, the pain really started setting in, and it started stiffening up. So that's why if you go back and look, I stopped throwing leg kicks for the second half of the second round and the whole third round. And I started to open up more with my boxing. That's why I started wrestling more too. I couldn't keep them at distance with the leg kicks. So I started, using a little bit more wrestling. I started getting a little bit more tired, as the fight went on, because I was doing a lot of feinting and stuff, even though I wasn't throwing a crap ton of punches. I was doing a lot of feinting and stuff. So that takes energy too. And so there wasn't a doubt in my mind. I didn't win any of those rounds. I won every single round, hands down. Even if they were close rounds, you can call them close rounds if you want to, but I beat them everywhere. If you can't beat me, if you're a boxer and your boxing is your way of winning, and you can't outbox me, you lost the fight. I don't care how close the strike count is. And speaking of that, at the end of the fight, when you look at the fight statistics, said he landed 2 more punches, but that's a little misleading because they count punches up against the cage. When I have him in a double leg and he's landing these little dinky punches on my face, they count those obviously. But I'm pretty sure everybody watching the boxing exchange, I landed more punches, I landed more kicks, everything. It was all around dominant performance for me, even though it wasn't complete domination to where I manhandled them. I beat them everywhere.
Right. All right, man. Well, I got one last question for you. This weekend we got Ben Askren versus Jake Paul. I gotta get your thoughts on who you think's walking away with that one.
All right, so this is my thing. I think Ben Askren's not a good boxer, but he's been boxing for 3 or 4 years. Even though he hasn't been competing that long, and he just boxes. Ben Askren was a world champion MMA, was undefeated, but he relied very heavily. And when I say very heavily, 99% of his game was wrestling.
Right.
And it was no secret he couldn't strike. We made fun of his shadow boxing videos leading up to his fight. We made fun of him hitting the bag, So we know he doesn't have good boxing. But I think I think Jake Paul wins. But then I have friends that are sparring with him down because I go to American Top Team. Jake Paul is in South Florida. I have friends that are sparring with him. Obviously, they can't bring a camera in. There's no video allowed. But I'm taking their word for it. Trust me. They said he sucks. They said he sucks. You know, he's not any good. But Ben Askren also sucks. So we're gonna get two guys that suck going against each other, and it might look like a good fight. You know, or Ben Askren might just suck that much more. And Jake Paul gets the win by knockout, and then everybody thinks MMA is a joke and MMA fighters can't strike because some YouTuber beat them. You know, that's why I think this is a terrible fight for MMA. Terrible.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It was silly when I saw they scheduled it. I thought it was silly. All right, one last question for you, man. Before we wrap it up, what's one word that you would use to describe your fight style?
Even though it hasn't been so, the past two fights have been playing it more safe than anything, building leverage. Aggressive, I think, is the best way. If you look overall, all my fights together, aggressive would be the best way to describe it, or well-rounded. I mean, I'm a complete mixed martial artist. I can really do it all, and that's not just talking. You know, it might have been talking at first to some people because they didn't get to see the boxing against a high-level boxer. They didn't get to see the kicking against a high-level kickboxer like Ty Gorder. They just seen the wrestling, and even when I wasn't trying to wrestle, like freaking Mark Gardner was trying to wrestle me, you know. So then I didn't get to strike against him. So it took a little bit to get the opportunity to show it, but now I'm showing it, and now people can believe it. I'm the complete mixed martial artist. I'm not just a boxer. I'm not just a wrestler. I'm not just a grappler. I'm everything. So I would say better than aggressive because it's changed from fight to fight. So I would actually take that back. I would say complete mixed martial artist. That would be the best way to describe my style.
Gotcha. All right, man. Hey, well, thank you for taking the time to do this. I know you're probably very busy, man, especially coming off a big win. Hope you get that fight against Tyrell Cotton. Sounds like you're really gunning for it. And we wish you the best, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good one.
You too.